Hello. I would say a new religion has evolved. The religion of rationality. People are forced to believe that rationality is the only way of thinking for modern human. Huge amount of books are written on that, lots of influencers tell us that we should be rational, show us how being irrational can cause harm. They debunk irrational beliefs, conspiracy theories. Rationality and irrationality are used as arguments in disputes. Everybody tries to show that the other side of dispute is irrational and therefore should change their mind. Word irrational almost became equal to word wrong these days. Word rational almost became equal to word right. We are being told that science is rational and all devices that we have are given to us by science, therefore it's right to be rational. And if someone does not accept rationality, does not accept reason and existing knowledge, he should not use any modern devices and other results of progress. I heard these words so many times from different people, but actually that sounds very similar to either you accept God or you go to hell. That's why I call rationality religion. Because it is. It is a belief that there is only one way to get the truth, and if somebody does not accept this belief, he does not deserve to be a part of modern society or be elected. Philosophers of rationality call themselves rational thinkers, trying to make it sound positive. And even though I'm not any kind of great thinker, I see a really huge problem here. I will try to show you that rational is not necessary right. And irrational is not necessary wrong. I will try to show you that science is not rational. It's opposite. The real science is almost fully irrational. What is rationality? The same way it's hard to find the one and only definition of free will, the same way it's hard to find one definition of rationality. Let's assume that the definition of rationality is this. Rationality is when you always justify your beliefs with reasons and facts. To be rational means to believe only in something supported by evidence. In this case, irrationality is when somebody believe or do something without a clear reason. Now I will provide two simple examples of irrational beliefs that turned into science with time. One good example would be Isaac Newton, who believed that God created the world and gave it the laws of nature, and that Newton's task is to search for those laws, to search for the will of God. I don't think this view of reality would be called rational by the majority of today's scientists. But as a result, Newton could build calculus and started the great scientific revolution, started modern science as we know it today. Another good example would be the alchemy. We don't even call it science. It's system of beliefs that there is some specific substance called the philosopher's stone. This substance can be used to convert base metals into gold. History tells us that those beliefs were wrong as nobody found the philosopher's stone yet. But those beliefs made people to try to combine different substances together and gave start to a science that we call chemistry now. These are really basic examples, and a lot of other examples can be given, but it's not a video about history of science. Let's review a model. Imagine that you need to get from point A to point B, and there is a forest with swamps between those points. Imagine that you know that there is a path between point A and point B. You use that path and know that it's safe. It is rational to use the path. Is it rational to search for any other? It can happen that shorter path exists, and if somebody finds it, it will be rational to use the shorter path. But is it rational to search for shorter path? We know for sure that there are swamps in the forest, and if you don't use the safe one, you might die. So it's irrational to search for shorter path. But if it is irrational, why any path exists at all? If it's irrational to search for the shorter one, then it's irrational to search for any. How would you ever find out that there is point B in the first place? Why would you search for any path in the forest with swamps at all? Even the assumption that there is some point B is irrational. You have no any evidence that point B exists. But someone has to make the irrational decision and go to the forest without any evidence. Or there will be no any path from point A to point B. No progress. Whoever decides to do that can die, but he can also find the road from point A to point B. In that case we will get the knowledge. Is it possible to find a path rationally? To say the truth, I don't see any way to do that. Even if there is, there will still be a rational reason behind it. You need to have a wish to go into the forest with swamps. You need to believe that there is sense to do it and that you will succeed. Without any evidence to think so. Rational thinkers call this type of thinking the wishful thinking. Wishful thinking has no reason, so wishful thinking and irrational thinking are the same thing. Rational thinkers describe wishful thinking as something bad because it can cause harm. And it's true. You might die, but you can also find the path from point A to point B instead. It was a wishful thinking for Christopher Columbus to expect that he can reach India by sailing to the west. He and his crew could die if Bahamas did not appear on their way. It was a wishful thinking for Isaac Newton to expect that God has created the laws of nature and that those laws can be found. But he thought so and succeed. It was a wishful thinking for alchemists to think that they can turn metal into gold using the philosopher's stone. And they did not succeed. By the way, Newton was actually alchemist as well, so not all his wishful thinking led to something good. It is my own wishful thinking to think that our universe is a huge robot and we can find the algorithm of matter and build the theory of everything. Wishful thinking is fully irrational and the one who uses it can fail. But he can succeed as well. All you need is a luck to wish something useful. Or if we speak about art and culture, then you would need to wish to create something that other people will like. Why wishful thinking is important? Because one needs to wish something very much to be able to successfully finish the journey and reach the destination, find the point B in our example. If one does not wish it enough, there are chances that he will turn halfway. Rational thinkers say that one should always check not to be wrong. What if you are wrong, they ask? What if there is no any point B at all? What if you are wasting your time, wasting your life for nothing? The more I think about that, the more I come to conclusion that it's not the right question. The right question should sound like this. What if I'm right? If the one who searches for the point B is wrong, he will just die or will have to return back and maybe someone will call him a loser, a wishful thinker, naive person, etc. But if he will find the way from point A to point B, we will get additional knowledge about the world, we will get progress. We can discuss what is more important for the person from the rational point of view, the person's own life or the progress of humanity, but it's actually useless. Progress does exist, so some of us are crazy or lucky enough to do search for point B sometimes. Even though nobody asks them to do so. And that's actually part of our nature. Nature, evolution decided for us. Dogs do not search for the God's will, cats do not search for the philosopher's stone. They just do not care to do that. Only humans do crazy stuff like that. Why? I will try to explain the reason in one of my future videos. Regarding evidence, I will provide an analogy from a chess game. Imagine that you are required to provide evidence for every move that you make during the game. In this case, you will not be able to use complex combinations, where the sense of a strange move becomes clear only after several moves of both players. Chess player cannot limit himself with one move. Without being able to check what opponent can do several steps ahead, you will hardly be able to win any chess game against any professional player. You need to be able to look deeper. Be able to investigate the consequences and predict the results of each move. Not just repeat something like "what is your evidence that this particular move is good?" The burden of proof is on you. You have no valid arguments to make this move. And so on. If you cannot understand the move, just watch the game. Evidence is not even about nature. It's about court. For evidence to work, there should be an independent judge, who accepts or rejects the evidence from the two sides of the dispute. But when there is no independent judge and one side of the dispute puts himself into the position of the judge, who do not even have to provide his own arguments, just repeats "what is your evidence," it's just wrong. For chess, the only real evidence for each move is the result of the game. For physics, such results should be the result of experiment. Not textbook, not calling yourself rational thinker, Not having degree in physics or even being Nobel Prize winner should really matter. Only the result of experiments should mean anything. Nature should be the only real judge. Because only nature is independent. And all people are wishful thinkers. Especially the rational thinkers, who wish everyone to follow rationality, whatever that is. When you make a guess, you cannot be sure how many logical steps you will have to make to prove or disprove that guess. How many years you will have to spend, how many people you will have to convince to have the experiments to be launched and the results to be accepted. And to understand whether that experiment really proves or disproves anything. Especially having in mind that nothing can be really proved or disproved in science. Some proved facts can appear to be wrong and some already falsified hypotheses can appear to be right and naturally connect different branches of physics that seem absolutely unrelated in a simple and intuitive way that nobody could even imagine. By the way, I will try to provide an example of such falsified hypothesis in my next video about the Hubble constant and the mass of electron. We even have a separate name for the wishful thinking if it leads to something good. We call it intuition, Eureka, idea. Yes, any idea is irrational by its nature. Any idea can be right, but it can also be wrong. In science, experiment is used to check the idea. So we can call experiment and observation rational. But experiment will not give you much, when you don't know what exactly to check. Only a rational idea and rational experiment together can create new knowledge. Without idea, new knowledge is impossible. In one of his public lectures, Richard Feynman described how physicists look for new laws of nature. Here is the quote. Now I'm going to discuss how we would look for a new law. In general, we look for a new law by the following process. First, we guess it. Then, we compute. Well, don't laugh, that's really true. Then we compute the consequences of the guess, to see what, if this is right, if this law that we guessed is right, we see what it would imply. And then we compare those computation results to nature. Quote finishes here. So the first and the most important step of scientific process is to guess the law. And there is no any way to do that rationally. You make measurements, you study what other people have done already, but without a guess you will not be able to move forward. If you could guess rationally, you would not have to check that guess in experiment at all. The need for experiment shows that the guess can be wrong, therefore it is not rational. Imagine for a second that pilot controls the plane by trying to guess what different buttons mean. Would you call that process rational? No, you would not. You would call it fully irrational, and you would be absolutely right. You can argue that it would be rational for pilot to study first, read the required books. Yes, but science is the search for knowledge. Books appear as a result of the scientific process, so there are no books to read when books are not written yet. So we come to conclusion that science is not fully rational. Science requires a rational guess to exist. Scientists are guessing. Even if they call that educated guess, it's still a guess, which can appear to be wrong. Here is another example. When you study science in school, you are given the input data and told what exactly you should calculate using that data. You are given instructions how to do that, you follow those instructions, get output data. This process is rational. It's clear what and why you are doing. You follow instructions to get a diploma and graduate from school. But the real science is opposite. You have the output data, the results of experiment, and you have to guess what was the original data and what were the instructions that could produce your results. It's definitely a rational process, as it's not even clear what exactly you are doing and why. It's like being in a dark room and looking for a black cat, when you don't even know what is black cat. You can say that you found black cat any moment, or you can try to look deeper. And even if you find the black cat, you will have to explain yourself and everybody around, why did you even search for that cat? If your friends are sarcastic enough, they will ask, is everything okay with you? Did you take drugs? Maybe you should lie down and have a rest? If they are not sarcastic, they will ask. Okay. Let's suppose you found something that you call the black cat in this dark room. So what? What's next? How we can use that black cat? Stupid situation and definitely irrational one. But it is what it is. So, what rationality can give us? It lets us follow the rules to avoid mistakes. It lets schooler get diploma, it lets pilot fly the plane and not get into jail for not following instructions. It lets us live our normal life in a society. It explains us how not to lose. But it will not give us more. What irrationality can give us? It can let us win or lose. It can let us be the one who writes the rules or become a loser. It can give us more. Or less. Together irrationality and rationality give us progress. Also wishful thinking gave us conspiracy theories, fanatics, serial killers, wars. Wishful thinking is not something good. It's just the way we are, just the way evolution built us, humans. The probability to win is actually quite low. We know only the stories of those who succeed. We don't know and don't want to know the stories of those who loses. From rational point of view there is no any sense to risk and search for the path from point A to point B. So why some of us are still doing it? Because nature created mechanism that compensate us the risks. We call it happiness. More details to be provided in my next videos. The same happens in biological evolution. There would be no any evolution without DNA copying errors, as there would be no science without a rational idea. Saying that evolution happens because of natural selection is just like saying that everybody should be rational. I dare to say that it's a mistake. The only real reason for evolution is mutation, whatever that is. Even without natural selection, evolution would still happen, as there are mutations anyway. Without mutations there would be no evolution for sure. The same for progress. It happens because of irrational ideas, wishful thinking, not because of rational thinkers or experiment. Boats, wheel, weapons, all of that was created when word science did not even exist. Birds learned how to fly even without being humans. Why do I even mention the biological evolution? My own wishful thinking tells me that scientific progress and biological evolution have very much common because they are different types of the same process. Different types of the global evolution of algorithms of our matrix universe, parts of infinite world creation process. And we are the ones who take part in that creation now. We create the world through random DNA changes and through our wishful thinking. Now why do I say that the religion of rationality is a huge problem? According to my theory, the need for irrationality is what really differs us from other animals. In some sense we are the craziest apes. We had to be really crazy comparing to other animals to be able to create everything we have. We think that we are very smart, but we are very complex instead. And to gain that complexity we had to try different things. And to try different things we had to have a need to try different things. We love when things are different. Otherwise we are bored and depressed. The more different things are available in our lives, the more happy we are. All those conspiracy theories are the result of this need. But not only conspiracy theories, but also religion, literature, art, sports, startups, science. Irrationality is not the problem, but the power of humanity. Not the one who refuses rationality, but the one who refuses wishful thinking should consider moving to jungle and try eating bananas as our relative chimpanzees do. Because that's everything we would have by now without irrationality. Or maybe we would have even less, as chimpanzees do have some level of irrationality too. Just not enough. Rationality is only the evolutional consequence of the need for irrationality. Those apes, who could predict the consequences of some of their crazy ideas, who could build logical sequences, had higher chances for survival. Yes, some conspiracy theories are dangerous, but it does not mean that any conspiracy theory is bad. And the most dangerous thing created, the nuclear bomb, has nothing to do with conspiracy. By forbidding everything that is not confirmed yet, you are fighting not only with possible harm, but also with possible good. And the main thing is that you are fighting with happiness. You see, the happiest thought of Einstein was the happiest for a reason. And the God's blessing that some religious people feel has the same reason. We don't choose when to be happy, evolution have chosen for us. Evolution makes us move forward and we cannot just stop. Life without irrationality will be the life without free will, without happiness and with depression. As always, I will provide more details in my next videos. Regarding the answer to the question why it's important to search for the algorithm of matter for me. The answer should be obvious by now. Because I like it. Because I'm a programmer and programmers love algorithms. It's like solving a puzzle. A huge puzzle. When you put pieces together and see the big picture, press like and subscribe if you would like to know if the matrix universe that I describe is only my wishful thinking or if it's real. But even if it is only my wishful thinking, which I really doubt, everything that is described in this video is still true. Evolution is real. A rational guess needed for scientific progress is real. Ration thinkers should think a little bit more on what exactly they are fighting for. And what exactly they are fighting against. They are fighting against the happiness, against the creation, against the miracle. Thank you for your attention.